Tonight, we begin with a mystery that has consumed the American intelligence community for the past 11 days. A mystery that has kept analysts awake through endless nights. A mystery centered not on what Vladimir Putin did, but on what he said. 7 words. Just 7 words spoken before the Russian president vanished from all known communication channels and retreated to a location that even the most sophisticated surveillance cannot penetrate. 7 words that have been analyzed, debated, dissected, and interpreted by every Russia expert the United States government employs. 7 words that may contain a warning, a command, a code, or a confession. And 7 words that no one can fully explain, but that everyone agrees carry a meaning so significant that understanding them has become the single highest priority of American intelligence. Tonight, we reveal the 7 words Putin said before going off-grid. We explore what analysts believe they mean, and we explain why the inability to definitively interpret these 7 words is keeping the people who protect us awake night after night after night after night. The last confirmed communication from Vladimir Putin came 12 days ago during a secure call with a member of his inner circle. The call itself was routine, discussing matters related to ongoing operations that intelligence monitors constantly. But at the end of the call, just before disconnecting, Putin said something that was not routine. He said 7 words that had no apparent connection to anything discussed during the conversation. 7 words that seemed to come from nowhere. 7 words that the person on the other end of the call reportedly acknowledged with only silence before Putin terminated the connection. Within hours of that call, Putin's communication signature, the electronic trail that even the most careful leaders leave as they interact with the modern world, went completely dark. His known phones stopped transmitting. His scheduled calls were canceled. His public appearances were postponed. And the Russian government offered no explanation for where their president had gone or when he would return. The disappearance itself is alarming, but not unprecedented. Putin has gone off-grid before, sometimes for health reasons, sometimes for security concerns, sometimes simply to escape the constant surveillance he knows the West maintains. Russian officials have become skilled at covering for his absences, conducting government business as if everything were normal, while Putin retreats to locations designed specifically to be invisible to Western intelligence. But this disappearance is different. Every previous time Putin went dark, there were contextual clues that suggested the reason. A health scare that Russian media later obliquely confirmed. A security threat that explained the sudden caution. A personal matter that required privacy. This time, there is no context. There is no explanation. There are only the 7 words he said before vanishing. Words that analysts have been trying to decode ever since. The 7 words Putin spoke have been translated and retranslated, analyzed for linguistic nuance, compared against every known statement Putin has made in his decades of public life. They have been examined for potential double meanings, for coded references, for connections to Russian military terminology or intelligence protocols. Experts in Russian language and culture have been consulted. Historians who have studied Putin's communication patterns have offered interpretations. Psychologists who have profiled Putin for intelligence agencies have weighed in on possible meanings. And yet, after 11 days of intensive analysis, there is no consensus. The words remain enigmatic, their meaning tantalizingly close, but never quite within reach. This is why analysts cannot sleep, not because they fear what the words mean, but because they cannot be certain what the words mean. The ambiguity itself is torturous. The 7 words, in their most direct English translation, are, "The garden is ready for the winter." Spoken by anyone else, these words would be meaningless, a simple statement about seasonal preparation. But spoken by Vladimir Putin to a member of his inner circle immediately before disappearing from all communication, they become something else entirely. They become a potential code, a possible metaphor, a signal whose recipient clearly understood even if Western intelligence does not. The analyst who first flagged the statement recognized immediately that it did not belong in the conversation where it appeared. There had been no discussion of gardens, of seasons, of any subject that would naturally lead to such a remark. The words were inserted deliberately, purposefully, as if Putin wanted to communicate something that could not be said directly, and then he vanished. The interpretations that analysts have developed fall into several categories. One school of thought believes the words are a code phrase, a prearranged signal that activates some protocol or operation that only a handful of people understand. Under this interpretation, the garden could refer to anything from a specific military installation to a network of agents to Russia itself. Ready for the winter could mean prepared for hardship, fortified against attack, or positioned for a period of dormancy before spring action. If this interpretation is correct, the words triggered something that is now in motion, something that Putin needed to personally authorize before retreating to safety. Another school of thought believes the words are metaphorical but not coded, that Putin was speaking poetically about preparation and survival, that he was signaling to his confidant that contingencies were in place for whatever difficult period lies ahead. Under this interpretation, the meaning is less specific but equally concerning. Putin believes hard times are coming and he has prepared accordingly. A third interpretation, perhaps the most disturbing, is that the words are exactly what they appear to be, a simple statement about a garden being ready for winter. Under this interpretation, Putin was speaking literally about his private compound compound, his actual garden, his personal preparations for the season ahead. But if this interpretation is correct, why would such a mundane statement be the last thing he said before disappearing? Why would he feel the need to communicate something so ordinary with such apparent significance? The analysts who favor this interpretation believe that the literal meaning is itself the message, that Putin was signaling his intention to retreat, to hibernate, to wait out whatever storm he sees approaching. He has prepared his garden, he has prepared his sanctuary, and now he is there, waiting while the world wonders what comes next. The intelligence community's frustration with these 7 words has become almost obsessive. Analysts who should be sleeping are instead running the phrase through every analytical framework available. They are searching historical archives for any previous use of similar language by Russian leaders. They are examining cultural references that might illuminate the metaphor. They are consulting with agricultural experts about what it actually means to prepare a garden for winter in Russia, hoping that understanding the literal process might reveal something about the figurative meaning. This is what happens when the most powerful intelligence apparatus in history encounters a puzzle it cannot solve. Resources are mobilized, experts are summoned, and still the answer remains elusive. What makes the mystery even more maddening is the silence that has followed. When Putin has gone off-grid in the past, there have usually been subtle signals that eventually clarified his status. A photograph released showing him at an unspecified location. A comment from an official that hinted at his activities. Something to indicate that the machine of Russian government still knew where its leader was and what he was doing. This time, there is nothing. Russian officials deflect questions about Putin's whereabouts with practiced vagueness. The Kremlin's public schedule shows no events and offers no explanations. And the 7 words hang in the air, unexplained, uncontextualized, driving analysts to distraction. The personal toll on the people tasked with solving this mystery has become visible to their colleagues and families. Analysts are sleeping in their offices, unwilling to leave in case new information arrives. They are drinking endless cups of coffee, their eyes red from staring at screens. They are snapping at each other as fatigue and frustration take their toll. The 7 words have become an obsession that crowds out everything else. Because everyone understands that when you don't know what Putin meant, you can't know what he's planning. And when you can't know what he's planning, you can't prepare for what might come next. The ambiguity is not academic. It is operationally paralyzing. Military planners cannot adjust postures without understanding intentions. Diplomats cannot craft messages without understanding the situation, and leaders cannot make decisions without clarity that does not exist. There is another possibility that analysts are reluctant to discuss, but that haunts their sleepless nights. The possibility that the 7 words mean nothing at all, that Putin said them precisely because they were meaningless, knowing that Western intelligence would intercept them and waste countless hours trying to decode something that was never coded in the first place. Under this interpretation, the 7 words are a deliberate misdirection, a way of consuming American analytical resources while Putin conducts his real business undisturbed. This possibility is almost worse than the alternatives, because if Putin can paralyze the intelligence community with 7 random words, what does that say about the balance of power in the information war? What does it say about his understanding of how we operate? And what might he be doing while we chase shadows? The search for meaning continues as this script is being written. Analysts are still awake, still debating, still searching for the key that will unlock the puzzle. Some believe they are close to an answer. Others believe no answer exists. All agree that they cannot rest until they understand why Vladimir Putin said 7 words about a garden before disappearing from the world. The garden is ready for the winter. 7 words. Endless interpretations. And a mystery that may not be solved until Putin himself chooses to reappear and reveal what he meant. Until then, the analysts will not sleep. The computers will keep running. The theories will keep multiplying. And the 7 words will echo through secure facilities where exhausted experts chase a meaning that remains just beyond their grasp. What we can say with certainty is this. Putin wanted those words to be heard. He knew the call was monitored. He knew the statement would be flagged. He knew that analysts would spend countless hours trying to understand. Whatever the garden is ready for the winter means, Putin meant for us to hear it. And that intentionality is perhaps the most important clue of all. When Putin wants you to hear something, he has a reason. When that reason remains hidden, the appropriate response is not comfort, but concern. This story is far from over. Putin remains off-grid. The 7 words remain unexplained. And somewhere in secure rooms across the intelligence community, analysts who haven't slept in days are still trying to understand what a garden and a winter have to do with the fate of the world.